Hey, I just got back from the track. Spent 7 hours tuning the TTO1. And yesterday, also about 7 hours with my daughter, tuning the TTO1. So total of about 14 hours trying to get a improve on our TTO1. So that's how we go faster, right? We just put a lot of work. All right. Um, for this video, I think we all have this problem wherein our car is set up well and we're doing well, it's running well, we're so happy, and then suddenly our car just misbehaves. The rear just goes into snap oversteer. And we don't know what's going on. We did not change the setup. Nothing. We don't know. And then we start fiddling with setup. From the perfect setup, we're now changing springs and everything, and still the car is doing snap oversteer. The rear end just kind of goes away, or the front does something weird. All right, but normally it's the rear. We notice when it's horrible. All right. So this happened to my friend last weekend. We set up his car. It was running well. So he was so happy. He goes, "This is the best car I've had in a long time." But then the next heat, the next qualifier, his car was just horrible. I saw it. It was just snap oversteer. And we're trying to figure out what happened. We didn't change anything. The track is the same. And then I realized I had that same problem when Porsche and I were in TITC Thailand, the big race, where I had a good car, and then it suddenly started losing the rear end, and Porsche was just struggling, and I initially blamed her driving. And then, looking closer, the culprit was the tire, yeah, it's the tires, the glue here. When the tires were coming unglued, and so when that happens, you will lose traction. All right, so. And that's what happened to my friend as well. So when I checked his car, first thing I thought about was not to change setup, was to look at his tires. They were pre-glued, brand new. But after a few runs, maybe 20 minutes on track, the glue was just off. I could pull the tire off the rim and see the insert. That was how bad the tire was. And that's why he had so bad handling problems. All right, so here, if the sidewall pulls away from the rim because of bad gluing then your car will suddenly lose traction or flip over itself and do traction roll, or just bad things, right? So myself, my routine is after a day's practice, I re-glue them. Always, all of them. Whether they're still glued or not, I just go around and put a fresh layer of glue. It's now a habit, because I would just want to make sure that when my car doesn't work well, I want to eliminate the gluing issue as a factor. I don't want to just go crazy setting up my car and then to find out it's just the tire had the glue came undone again, right? And normally I find after 10 minutes or 15 minutes of hard running, especially in modified class, the glue will come undone no matter what glue I try. I try Loctite, I try a Gorilla, all these types of glues. It still comes undone. So ideally, if it's a big race, I will re-glue every run. And if it's just practicing at the end of the day, like tonight, I will just re-glue the sets I used. And be careful that you don't put too much glue, that it seeps into the insert, because once the insert gets glued to the rim, that will cause an imbalance and also some handling issues as well. So that's also something to be careful about. So try to glue as neat as possible. It comes with practice. The more tires you glue, the better you become at it. So yeah, that's the number one most important tip, setup tip I can tell you. I've seen so many tires not glued properly, and that's why their cars were not handling well. And even us veterans, myself, sometimes I do forget that's the first thing I should check whenever a car starts to handle weirdly, without knowing why. So I do this video also to remind myself and not to forget to do this maintenance work on tires. Reglue. I use this one with I like this bottle. I can just put some glue in here, and the metal needle is reusable. Just put lighter whenever this gets stuck up and burn off the glue, and it goes into the edge very cleanly. To each his own. So you do the front and back all the time, always, every time, if you want to save yourself the headache. Yeah. Sometimes you already have the perfect setup, and then you keep changing it just because it suddenly doesn't handle the same, and then only to find out it was just because your tires, well, came unglued. And well, that's horrible, right? So that's the mystery solved. Normally, people wonder what's going on with my car, and we start fiddling with the springs and everything else, and then nothing works, and it's all because of the simple glue. All right. Most important tip. Honestly, this is the most important. You need tires that are glued to the rim all the time, every run, and then we work on the setup. All right. Well, to add, these are Tamiya tires. Yeah, it's needless to say, tires are the most important setup as well, meaning you need the correct tire for the track you're racing on. If it's not handout, you have to find it from the fast drivers. And tires, inserts, everything, traction compound. That's the number one thing you need. You need to get the traction first. Your car cannot really generate traction per se. You can change your setup balance, understeer, oversteer, but hard to generate more traction, right? Avoid wheel spin. You get that from fresh tires, correct traction compound, correct tires for the temperature, surface, and so on. You need that. That's the most important thing. You need to spend money on tires. Yeah. I think that's hopefully that helps remind us all, newbie and veterans alike. And then I'll go through, I guess in terms of priority, I'll start making videos on what's the most important in terms of setting up a car. So this one, tires, and make sure they are glued. And I'll have to think of what's the next most important setup thing. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.